New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Live from a secure concrete bunker somewhere in Ohio, New Thought Media Network presents Pastor Michael Mangus with Friday's Fireside Chat, spiritual conversation for today. Here he is from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands of watts, Pastor Michael Mangus.
Well, good evening to everyone across the United States and also around the world. It is time once again for another fun-filled, thrill-packed, and yes, guaranteed, always exciting edition of the Friday Evening Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network. I am the Reverend Michael Mangus. I am broadcasting from the Charles Fillmore radio room, surrounded by thousands, and I mean thousands of watts, in an extremely secure concrete bunker somewhere around Akron, Ohio, that is so top secret. Only one person knows where the secret bunker is located. Everyone else, especially that Reverend Dr. Robert Brzezinski, who cringes every time that I say it, but he's my boss. He does not have any clue where it's at, and we are going to keep it that way. Well, hello there. Welcome. Good to have you aboard this evening. And we're glad to have you. And please feel free to interact with us by posting your comment either on Facebook or on YouTube. And all my shy people out there. Yeah. Just send me an email, okay? pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. Now I'll read your emails. But that Reverend Jeff guy, I don't know. We'll have to talk to him about that. He says I don't read his emails during the week, which is true. But the purpose of our fireside chat here is to, with hopefully a little levity, talk about contemporary issues from a New Thought perspective. And as I keep saying, week after week, I want us all to have a new thought about the news and what is going on around us. Now, I have heard from many New Thought students, well, I don't watch news anymore. Well, okay, but maybe there's another way we can take a look at the news. Rather than have it bother us emotionally, we can take a look and say, that's interesting. What is my part to make this a world that's a better place for all? This evening, all the way from the great state of Tennessee, formerly of the great state of West Virginia, we have staff commentator, the Reverend Jeff Radcliff, who always has something interesting to say about the news. And again, this is his second broadcast of the day. Now, what did I do wrong now, Jeff? You came on 1 minute before airtime, and you said, I did not let you talk about something last week.
You didn't.
Okay, so go ahead.
You went into your whole spiel about, well, grab yourself a a cup of coffee or some tea or whatever, and you never let me, expound on that. Do you know that it's getting to be summertime out there almost? I mean, I've
Yeah.
had the air conditioning on the past couple of days.
Right.
Yeah, we need to get something a little more cool as a beverage, something a little more adult. Margaritas or something.
Margaritas, you think so?
Yeah, whatever. or something else. I was doing a green smoothie there in the morning for the longest time until my bartender told me that the real name for it was mojito.
Now, what kind of alcohol did you put into it?
Well, tonight it's blended Canadian whiskey that I bought before the tariffs hit.
Okay. So, what's our tariff today with Canada?
I have no freaking idea.
I have no clue either.
All I know is that dude puts out this stupid shit, and then he walks it back because it's not going to fly. Did you see where they rescinded the order to take all the student visas away from the students? So the tariffs with China, he's just kind of set aside, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and we don't know what he's doing either.
I think we should take away a Sharpie. That he should never, ever hold a Sharpie ever again.
Yeah, because that's what he uses to write his name with. I mean, it's either that or one of those great big giant crayons is about the size of a magic marker. Did you ever see those when you were a kid?
Absolutely. Love those.
So I think that's probably he uses a Sharpie probably because those tiny little hands of his aren't able to hold a regular pen. But I don't know. The fact that he's governing by executive order while Congress sits twiddling their thumbs, it's not a good sign.
Well, I know that. So you think that we need to have more of cooler beverages for the summertime? Is that what you're saying, Reverend Jeff Radcliff?
Yeah, cooler beverages. We need to have cooler politicians. We need to be cooler. Yeah.
Now, is it true that in Southern iced tea there's more sugar than tea?
If it's made right.
From what I understand, you should be able to take a spoon and to stick it into sweet tea.
If that thing lists from 90 degrees, it ain't got enough sugar in it.
Sweet tea, not sweet tea. It's sweet tea, right?
And you've got to have your dentist on speed dial. That's just the way it is.
All right. Any news that you would like to share before we go into news?
Well, I'm sure that you've got a boatload of stuff to talk about. I've got a really cool story of the week, which I can't wait to share. But we can save that for a little while. I'm sure that there's something a little more pithy.
You mean Reverend Jeff's story of the week?
The story of the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I still haven't had my production friend do that.
Well, you need to get on that. I mean,
Reverend Dr. Briz is spending our production money this week at Unity Village.
Well, see, that's why you can't get shit done around there. He's out gallivanting around, spending the whole damn budget for the entire network.
Yeah, he calls me at 9:15, 1 hour before prayer time. So I get into my Charles Fillmore radio room.
I noticed that.
Well, do you know why?
Genghis Khan was put on the no-fly list? I don't
know. Charles Fillmore, I learned through watching Dr. Ruth Miller's program called New Thought Roots and Branches,
Right.
that Charles owned a radio station. And when he couldn't sleep,
I don't
yes. And when he couldn't
Cool.
sleep, like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, he'd just go on the radio.
Oh, how awesome is that? He was one of us.
Yeah.
He got that radio background. So how cool is that? I did not do that. Of course, Ruth Miller and I have been friends for a long time. And I'm sorry to say that I have not yet watched her show. I'm going to have to do that. Now you're making me.
You will learn so much.
She is awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
If you take a look at the show, it's called New Thought Roots and Branches, which is every Tuesday evening at 6 Eastern, 4 Mountain Time here on your New Thought Media Network. It is outstanding.
I do read her books, though.
Healing by Words Alone. Okay. Hold on. Yeah. I'll face the product a little bit more here. Put the product up. Yeah. Healing by Words Alone. Ruth L. Miller.
Yeah. Let me find the camera angle where it's not going to shine on her name. Yeah. And for those of you who are not aware, this is actually a reprint. It's of her original edition, 150 Years of Healing.
Yes.
So yeah. So I've got that one too, but I bought this one simply because it's new and improved. That's
the reason I renamed the room the Charles Fillmore Radio Room.
Okay. I thought it was. Oh, I can't use that joke on the air. Oh,
yes, you can. I'll we have to behave this evening.
Yeah, we do. He's probably.
You know why?
Why?
Reverend Dr. Raymond is in the house.
Yeah. Raymond, he's cool.
Sonia says, the best ever Roots and Branches. It's a great show. Yes,
I will. I promise. I will check it out. I will watch for it.
And Wayne says that we should eat New Thought for breakfast.
There you go.
Now, Wayne, do you have that with milk, or do you have that sunny side up?
What?
How do you eat New Thought for breakfast? All right. I've avoided it long enough.
Yes, you have.
And now the news. We say goodbye to a great man and also spiritual giant. Pope Francis died on Easter Monday, April 21st, 2025, at the age of 88. And no, Jeff Radcliff, that J.D. Vance did not kill him.
Prove it. Prove it.
Vice President Vance was one of the last people to see the Pope alive. Are you going to do conspiracy theories here this evening?
I don't know.
Okay.
I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah.
Pope Francis's wooden coffin is to be sealed here tonight in a private rite that officially ends 3 days of his body lying in state at the Vatican. There's a picture of the crowds that were, they said over 250,000 people went by the casket here in the last 3 days. Wow. Well, the liturgical rite of sealing his coffin is being led by Cardinal Kevin Farrell, who is the acting head of the church, and he was tasked in making the arrangements for the Pope's funeral. Farrell, who's a Dublin-born cleric who became a naturalized American citizen, was formerly the Bishop of Dallas in Texas. The ceremony, which will take place behind closed doors, includes several short songs, spoken prayers, and a moment for silent prayer. Farrell will then spread a white silk veil over the late Pope's face and then sprinkle the body with holy water, according to an order of service released by the Vatican Press Office earlier this week. The right will conclude with a hymn to Mary. I want you to take a look at this crowd. Isn't that unbelievable? Over 250,000 people went by the Pope's casket. 250,000 people. Isn't that amazing? So the question here, the $64,000 question, is who will become the next pontiff of the 1.2 billion Catholics? Well, I've read several articles today, and I can't really give you an odds-on favorite. Now, Jeff, who does play the ponies, and who also bets on NFL games. What now?
I ride those ponies till the saddle falls.
I know. Can you give us some odds, Jeff? Who do you think?
Well, it doesn't get any odder than J.D. Vance, but I know that.
Well, now hold it.
There is the guy who they've got doing who's taken over right now until the conclave.
Yes,
he's from the United States. He's the Irish guy. I can't remember what his name is. He's not going to get it. I can tell you that right now. They're probably going to go with another Italian cardinal. It just seems to be the way it works. Do I have a favorite? I've looked at the candidates that are possible.
Yes.
And I can't pick one. They all have good points. They all have points that I think I could see some improvement on. I'm just glad that it's not me having to vote on them.
Let's go back to J.D. Vance. Now, technically, any baptized Catholic male is eligible, including J.D. Vance and Michael John Mangus.
Yeah, but didn't
Michael the 23rd or something?
Well, it doesn't have to be. You can do whatever. Call yourself after me. I mean, shoot.
Okay, well, were you baptized Catholic?
No.
Okay.
I was baptized non-denominational in my grandmother's neighbor's swimming pool in 1977.
Wow. Well, now hold it. Now the winner in the conclave. Now that's a famous movie that happened last year, but the winner must receive at least 2/3 of the vote from those cardinals under the age of 80. And thus eligible to participate. So if you're over 80, you can't vote.
Right.
So, but
anyhow, does that mean that you're also, if you're over 80, does that knock you out of contention for the seat of the pontiff?
No, because that Pope Francis was elected Pope at age 76.
Right.
So they did not consider his age. But I just want to show you some front runners here. And please, if you are checking Las Vegas odds, here's 3 that you may want to consider. This is Cardinal Peter Erdu, who is the Archbishop of Budapest. That's the first one. The second one is Cardinal Reinhard Marx. He is the Archbishop of Munich, who volunteered to step down when the German church got inundated with allegations of child abuse, but the Pope didn't take it. And here is a wild card, but possibly your next Pope, who is Cardinal Robert Serra of Guinea, who is a retired head of the Vatican Liturgy Office. Now, Cardinal Serra is considered to be very conservative. So it would be it's going to be very interesting to see who the Cardinals pick here in the next few days. So tomorrow is the state funeral for Pope Francis, and then they have a time of mourning, and then all the Cardinals get locked up for a cage match. And the first one out wins.
150 men enter, one man leaves. Tina Turner would be proud. I will say this.
Okay.
If the cardinal from West Africa is elected, you're right. The church is going to become extremely conservative. It was the African contingent of the United Methodist Church that pushed forward the schism that broke apart the church into the United Methodist Church and the Global Methodist Church.
Right.
That conservatism. So if he happens to be elected, then you can expect the church to really move to the right, because the church in Africa, and it's not just divided by denominations. It's just Christianity in Africa in general is very conservative.
Well, guess what? And now news from the fire hose called Donald J. Trump.
Now stop just a second before you go anywhere else. What I want to know is Italy is one of the countries that has a law that says that convicted felons are not allowed to visit their country. They will not allow them in. Why are they offering him a concession on that? Although I did see that he was not happy because he was placed not in the front row where he wanted to be, but 3 rows back.
Well, he has to be closer to the bathroom.
Not happy.
Well, I mean, supposedly he has some issues with that. So they were not being kind.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they let him in at all speaks volumes to the integrity and the whatever of the Italian people.
Well, that's what happens when you get a very, 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 very slim win in America for the presidency of the United States. Okay, so as he approaches 100 days into a second term, it's been that short. Oh my goodness. President Donald Trump says that as a part of the peace proposal to end the Russian-Ukraine war, Crimea will stay with Russia. Yeah, sure. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky understands that. Yeah, and sure.
But you know what? A lot of people don't take into consideration the fact that the people in Crimea and in that part of Ukraine were kind of happy to break away from Ukraine. This is news that goes back well before 2014.
Right.
They voted to go with Russia. So as much as I would like to see Ukraine stay intact, why would you want to hang on to people who don't want to hang on to you?
That is a very good question. Well, anyhow, Trump said he could meet with Zelensky on the sidelines of Pope Francis's funeral tomorrow, while U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff met again with Russian President Vladimir Putin today. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Russian President Vladimir Putin discussed the possibility of resuming direct negotiations between the Ukraine and Russia, according to a senior Kremlin aide. The meeting at the Kremlin, which lasted 3 hours, was very constructive and useful, said Yuri Ushakov, who's a key Putin aide who was at the talks, told reporters. This conversation, he says, allows the U.S. position to be further brought closer together, not only on the Ukraine, but on a number of other international issues. And then it gets better.
How?
A Russian general was killed in a car blast near Moscow as Putin meets the U.S. envoy in the Ukraine. Now they have something strange happens to certain higher ups in Putin's regime. They seem to have an issue with cars blowing up, even though this may be Ukrainian, but we don't know. But it's either cars blowing up or getting a little too close to the banister.
Yeah, they fall out of windows like crazy.
Yeah, it's just like. Do you think the two are tied together?
Oh, hell yeah. I do, actually. You want a conspiracy theory? Here's mine. Yeah.
Well, listen, folks, the reason we're laughing about this stuff is because, again, that unfortunately, these are the times that we live in with all this craziness going on in the world. So, again, that we are called to be the light. We are called to speak up and speak out about this stuff. And you wait until I read the next story, of which I'm going to delay because we are going to go to break and we will have then cleared by legal this week, Reverend Jeff's story of the week. And what is your story of the week, Reverend Jeff? Give us a little teaser before the break.
I found a school system that's willing to allow their students to practice yoga without saying that they're trying to practice fake Eastern religions.
Well, maybe that's what you and I should do. You know, these Lifeway groups here in Ohio, what they do is they ship these kids off right in the middle of the school day, fill them full of sugar, give them little trinkets, and then send them back to the classroom.
I could get behind that. Fill me with sugar and give me trinkets and see how much. Yeah, that'd be good.
But you see, Reverend Jeff's whole life yoga would give them like tofu treats.
Is there wrong with
and
that?
have them practice yoga poses, right?
Absolutely.
And meditation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You've given me a really good idea here.
Oh. I didn't need to.
Funding for it. What do you think?
What?
I could get funding for this. Again, for those of you who are not familiar, here in Ohio and also other places in the U.S., this group calls themselves Lifeway. Now, what they do is there is some type of law that was passed through the state legislatures that allows religious groups to take children with parental permission off the school grounds and to give them a religious education. So, hey, why not?
What did you call these people? Who are they?
Lifeway.
They're different from the Baptist publisher?
Yes.
Really? Okay, because that's the only Lifeway I knew of.
Yeah, so that's what's going on. So no, I'm going to work on that. That's my the light bulb has gone off, and I'm going to work on that.
Oh Lord, the damn light bulb! Here we go.
And guess who's going to create my curriculum?
God knows who.
Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson.
That would be okay.
I think so. I think he'd create
that would be good.
Well, Reverend Jeff's story of the week will be back here in just a moment. But first, words from our sponsor here. And just to let you know that on Sundays, yours truly is at Summit CSL. For more information, go to summitcsl.org there. We have, I believe, one of the great services here in New Thought. And that's because we balance the 3 M's. That's music, meditation, and message. This Sunday will be our music director, Reverend John Miller. It'll be a great program this coming Sunday, 10:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 on the Pacific Coast. All you need to do is to go to our website, summitcsl.org, and there will be information on how to get on the Zoom call. All right. Man, that's a really good idea. I think I could get funding around some type of yoga or secular.
All right.
You think so? I think so. I think I could do that.
You can always do a GoFundMe if nothing else, right?
GoFundMe. All right. We'll be back right after this here on Positively Inspiring New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center, Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are his own and do not reflect the views and opinions of New Thought Media Network, Centers for Spiritual Living, or any other person living or dead. As they say in the 12-Step Recovery Program, take what you like and leave the rest. Here again is Pastor Michael.
Legal would not let me say all the time. Right.
Well,
because I
can't
am.
answer that.
Oh, you can't. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that you've been waiting for this all week.
They
All
better
right.
have.
And that this story has been approved by the legal department of the New Thought Media Network. Ladies and gentlemen, backed by popular demand, it is Reverend Jeff's story of the week. Something like that.
What Michael's not telling you is that legal did not approve me for any F-bombs in this particular story.
Because
So
you
my
don't need them.
hands are tied.
Well, Jeff, what do you have for us?
Well, there have been ideas floated around for years about getting meditation or yoga techniques placed in public schools. And a lot of people have balked at it because they say, oh, well, you're wanting to indoctrinate the kids into Hinduism and Buddhism and all these other Eastern religions. Well, I found a school that actually has a program that allows students to do participate in this mindful moment. Well, it's and first of all, I have to say that the news story that I found about it was a couple of years old. So I actually called the school. This is a Robert W. Coleman Elementary School in Baltimore, Maryland. They have what they call the Mindful Moment program, which involves children being sent to a mindful moment room when they misbehave, and then they're given the opportunity to stretch and practice yoga and meditation, all with the aim of encouraging them to kind of wind down and relax in the face of the stressful situations.
You
that
did
they're finding
research on this? You
Yeah,
called
I
the
actually
school?
did. Yeah, it is in the school.
Oh,
Now,
wow. I'm
yeah, now,
impressed.
yeah, seriously. Now, the principal at the writing of the article that I saw, the principal's name was Carlilian Thompson, and he said that he rarely, after getting this program into the school, that he rarely had to speak to um, students over disciplinary issues. Well, when I called the school the other day just to find out, because a couple of years old, I didn't know whether this program still existed or not, and it turns out that it still does. Now, I'm not sure whether they kind of put it aside for the year or whether what the deal was. But the nice lady that I talked to on the phone said it would be back in the fall, which led me to believe that maybe they weren't doing it this year, but it would be back in the fall. And just a shout out to Principal Melanie Payne. She is now the current principal of Robert Coleman Elementary School. But what they did was the program was created through the school's partnership with a nonprofit organization called the Holistic Life Foundation. And what the foundation does is they provide a staff member in the room at all times to help the children work through whatever causes them to misbehave. And when we're talking about pre-K through fifth grade, and you've got the littles who are away from home probably for the first time, and that's stressful for them. You've got the older kids who are trying to figure out where they fit in the pecking order, and it only gets worse when you get to high school and junior high. So hopefully what they'll learn in this program in elementary school will carry them through high school and beyond. But it's interesting to note that the importance of the room is emphasized by the fact that many of the children in the area come from deprived backgrounds. Well, because Baltimore is about 25% living below the poverty line.
Mm-hmm.
So and they've even back when Mr. Thompson was principal, they said that they even had some students who are homeless. So it was even more important for them to make school a safe and relaxing environment for them. So this is something that I would love to see spread across the country. Now, I live in the deep South. Well, not in the deep South, but I live on the border of the deep South.
Close enough.
I'm in the mid South. Close enough. I'm not the buckle of the Bible Belt, but I'm one of the little holes in the belt. And this would not fly in Tennessee, which is
you don't think so?
I do not think so. Not with a super majority of Republicans in the House and in the state Senate. It would not fly. They've got too many people who would say that this is teaching the devil's whatever. But I would love to see. I'd love to see voters come out and change us from a blue state to a red state, or at least a purple state where the blue has a little more to say about it, so that we could get a program like this into the school.
Well, maybe we can here in Ohio. I have my light bulb moment here this evening.
Because
so you think have a GoFundMe? Is that what you're saying?
I think it would be cool. I do. What now? I don't know what financial arrangements, if any, are made with the Holistic Life Foundation. Maybe they do this for free. I don't know. But I'd love to see them bring this to schools all across the country, particularly since, every day these kids go to school not knowing whether or not they're going to end up locked down, shot up by some lunatic with a gun. That's stressful enough as it is. And then you take those kids who have actually been in a school that has experienced a school shooting and imagine how stressful that is. Something like a mindful moment program could only be good for them.
Yes, I agree. I think that the more that, and again, that school system is not the only one. There's several programs like that across the nation. So thank you, Reverend Jeff, for your story of the week. Very well researched.
Thank you.
By the way. And you didn't have to use one of your F-bombs.
I know, that pisses me off.
Well, you may want to save it for this next story.
It's another Trumper?
No, this is the Wisconsin judge that was arrested and charged in federal court for allegedly obstructing immigration agents. A Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge was arrested on Friday and charged in federal court after allegedly helping an undocumented immigrant avoid arrest. Judge Hannah Dugan is facing 2 charges for obstruction and concealing individuals from arrest. She made an initial appearance in court and was released. So the arrest on federal charges is an escalation in the Trump administration's focus on judges' conduct, particularly as it relates to immigration enforcement. Now, the Justice Department has repeatedly asserted that it will investigate any local officials who do not assist federal authorities on immigration matters. So basically what happened was, well, I'll just read this here. It says, we believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse. Eduardo Flores Ruiz allowing the subject, an illegal alien, to evade arrest. And that was put up by FBI Director Kash Patel on X in a post on Friday morning. I mean, anything on X, you should trust, right?
Absolutely.
Thankfully, he said, our agents tracked down the perp on foot, and he's been in custody since, but the judge obstruction created increased danger to the public. So basically what she did was she chewed out the ICE agents. How dare you be in my court? All right, get out of here. And then to Flores Ruiz and his attorney, he said, there's a side door over here. Just get out of here. So that's the reason she's in court. Isn't that interesting? Isn't she allowed to make the rules for her own court?
It's shameful, basically, what it is. Particularly since news came out that they had arrested someone else, the government, without an arrest warrant. Took him into custody, and can you blame any of us who would do what the judge did, which is basically she pulled a Harriet Tubman. She was a conductor on the Underground Railroad.
She said, just get out of here.
Yeah, basically. And I don't find a damn thing wrong with that, because no matter, you can be undocumented or not, but that no one is illegal. There is no such thing as an illegal person. And I refuse to allow anybody to use that term in my presence, because we are all the expression of divinity. And we all have the right to be seen and recognized as that expression of divinity. And for a government agency to want to demean that person and persecute them, no, not cool at all, not with me.
And this judge is not the only local official who's been doing this. All right. So again, that there's been a quiet resistance against having these ICE agents. Again, they have quotas now. All right. It's not just you arrest the bad guy because they're bad. It's that you arrest as many quote unquote bad guys as you can and ship them off. That's part of the quota.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on here. And again, that's why I'm saying here to everyone out there, again, please, the reason we make you aware of this is because we want you, again, to use your power, call up your congressperson, call up your representatives, and tell them this is not acceptable at all. This is the United States of America, not Nazi Germany here. But wait, there's more.
Of course there is.
The White House faith leader says it's not hard for wives to submit to husbands.
Whoa. Why did you I just got to ask, out of curiosity, where did you get the picture? That looks like you stole it straight out of Madame Tussauds Wax Museum.
No,
Is that an actual photograph or is that an AI?
That's an actual photograph of Paula White Kane.
Oh, she looks almost lifelike, doesn't she?
So Paula White Kane says that men are becoming the bedrock of the church, which is how God designed it. Paula White Kane, who is a senior advisor for President Trump's White House Faith Office, says in a recent interview that she submits to her husband and that God designed men to be the leaders of the household. While speaking to Real America's Voice host Steve Gruber on Wednesday, White Kane praised men who are returning to the church, which is true. God's moving mightily, and that's what's so exciting to me, especially among young people and the men. The men are the fastest returning to the church. And Gruber said, see what she's saying there again, men. We need more fathers. We need more husbands. We need more real men. Absolutely.
Real
White
men.
Kane agreed. She added that men are becoming the bedrock, which is. So there is a study and was published last year by the Survey Center on American Life, found that church membership was declining among young women in the U.S. at a higher rate than among young men. Nearly 2/3 of young women interviewed say that they were not treated as equal to men in churches. That's because of misinterpretations of Paul's letters to the churches. White Kane, who's a televangelist, who says you need to give your seed. You need to give your $1,000 to the Lord, and he will guarantee you blessings because you have planted your seed. I'm mocking, but.
Oh, well, how Oral Roberts of her.
White Kane, who's a televangelist, okay, referred to her third husband. Now, I thought there was like a problem with divorce.
Three, remember?
Jonathan Kane.
Where if you divorce, you're supposed to have committed adultery?
Right, something about that. So Jonathan Kane, as the head of her household, who was a former guitarist for Journey, I believe, stated, God has an order. And she continues, if there's ever a time that a decision has to be made and we don't agree upon something, he's the head. And it's not hard to submit.
Well, we don't pay attention.
Isn't that a, first of all,
no, we don't pay attention to what Jonathan Cain has to say. He's just jealous because God is a Fleetwood Mac fan.
You think so?
And not a Journey fan. Yeah, everybody knows it. Where have you been?
So, is it in the Bible that he's a Fleetwood Mac fan?
It's in the Newest Testament.
In the Newest Testament?
Yeah, the one where I'm in. The one that I'm in. Yes.
Okay. Gosh. So anyhow, and I'll finish up here. Even right-wing influencer John Root told the digital news site Notice that he was concerned about White Cain's involvement in the White House. Root told the outlet last month, anybody that you know that holds true to strong biblical conviction and discernment would not be involved with Paula White. She's 100% a false teacher. That's because she's from the Word of Faith movement, which copies a lot of what we teach in New Thought. They don't teach about the impersonal law, but that's how it works. You know, you can even call it 0-point field, but that's how it works. You know, when you speak it, you birth it. So anyhow, this whole idea of submission, I could go ahead and go through Paul's letters and pick out where it says that Paula White Cain shouldn't even be teaching in the front. Mm-hmm. And then she's saying, oh, you have to submit to your husbands. No, you have to. The current Bible scholarship about that is the head is a part of the body. It doesn't give rulership over anybody in the household. Mm-hmm. So again, I think it's from Ephesians where he says that, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Mm-hmm. So, this whole submission thing is crazy. And again, when I do premarital counseling, I teach, let's learn how to get along 50-50. Now, if there's an agreement that if you have come to a point where that you both disagree and that the husband is to make the decision, that's between the two of you. Right. But to go ahead and just say, that the man can, again, that's been the cause of so much abuse of women in the church. And if you go to your Baptist pastor and say, my husband is abusing me, many times what the pastor says is, points to Paul's letters and say, you have to go back. That's crazy. Again, this whole thing is extremely bad theology. It's just, again, I actually agree with John Root. She shouldn't be there. Go ahead.
Well, Paula Cain is basic, and I can't call her Paula Cain White. I mean, that's just
Paula White Cain. It's Paula White.
White, yeah, Paula White, whatever. Well, maybe that's the best way to address her as Paula White Cain, right?
Whatever.
Because evidently she's blind to what's going on. She needs that white cane. I know that joke was a stretch, but still.
Ta-da, boom.
Yeah, I know, right? She's reading out of the book of The Handmaid's Tale. She's not reading out of the Bible.
Oh.
Yeah, she's twisting all this stuff around. But then on the other hand, many of the some of the more conservative mainstream Christian denominations are not quite as uninformed as the non-denominational evangelicals who kind of sort of seem to despise biblical scholarship. She's just pulling on stuff that has been debunked already, and that's crazy talk.
Do you know what? Do you know what crazy talk is?
Crazy talk is coming to the end of our broadcast and not bringing in some sort of a spiritual idea or concept to kind of counteract this, because we have been laughing at this, we've been making fun of, we've been joking because it's so horrific. Some of the things you've got to laugh at, or you will run screaming into the night.
But again, that's
the truth. Here's the truth.
Go ahead.
Michael teaches it. I teach it. New Thought teaches this. God is all there is. No matter what it looks like, Spirit is there. Okay? And what we focus on, we bring into ourselves. We have been joking about these things in order to take the sting out of it. Because when you see this and you allow it to cause you to have a spirit of fear within you, then you're more apt to manifest this thing. So we have to take the bite out of it. We have to take the bite out of it.
Okay, hold on. We have another theological question here from contributor Deb Chinrock. Does anyone really know what God's sex or pronouns are? I think that, well, you use the term he.
Yeah.
God is beyond gender.
Oh yeah, Debbie, he got you on that one. You did use the he.
God is.
But what she says is accurate, because God is spirit, and that is what Jesus taught. And spirit has no gender,
right?
But it has both genders, or all genders, not just male, female, but whatever comes in between the two. God is all of it.
So in the book of Genesis, the first chapter, the first verse, in the beginning, God, that's Elohim, which means many gods. So what Bible translators are saying is that it was God present as masculine and feminine to birth the world. So yes. Now, see, the reason I use pronouns, Deb, and I'll just say my reasons, is because I want people to be comfortable about using or sharing with me theirs. So that's the reason I put those up. But no, God is beyond gender. The reason that Jesus called God Father was because of, again, the close relationship that he had. And it is speculated that Jesus had a really good relationship with Joseph, because God was not called Father. Okay, so he had a really close relationship. So that is what that Jesus went ahead and said in the four Gospels. So no, God is genderless. And God is beyond all that. Go ahead, Jeff. And then we got to wrap it up. Go ahead.
Right. No. And let's not also lose sight of the fact that if there was a historical Jesus, or an historical, if you want to, be grammatical, this Jesus grew up in a patriarchal society. And so in order to address the people in ways that they understood, he had to use the local terminology, which would have been patriarchal in all aspects.
Well, we're gonna give the last word to a couple people. The Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, of which I'm going to talk to about putting together my Ohio curricula.
Says God is some money while you're at it.
You see, now he's quoting out of the Bible again from John 4:24. God is spirit, and those who worship must worship in spirit and in truth. Yeah. And of course, I don't know, we may have to add Deb on to staff here, but she says
Deb. She's cool.
We should all approach everyone with spirit. All is related in the light.
Absolutely.
Wow. Good point, Deb. And guess what?
We're out of time. So remember.
We are so out of time.
We are very out of time, but just remember, no matter what it looks like, no matter where you go, you are not alone. Spirit goes with you because you are that spirit in expression.
And let me share with you a brand new resource that we debuted last week. If you would like personal prayer, it's real easy. Lily. Maybe Lily needs prayer.
Yeah, our friend of ours.
Well, anyhow, go to ntmedia.org/prayer. There, all you need to do is fill out that prayer form and then hit send. We, on the prayer team, we get that immediately. All right. So if you need support through this time, you are not alone, but you have support through us. Prayer at ntmedia.org.
And if you are looking for a little bit more Reverend Jeff in your life, and who isn't, on Friday afternoons, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, 1 p.m. Pacific. Divine Science Everywhere. Join me and my two co-hosts, Reverend Joy Fletcher and Bishop Jarrell Watkins, as we talk about how the New Thought tradition of divine science is applicable to you and your life in everyday living.
Now, you did not wear your clergy collar today.
I didn't, because I only wear that when I'm married.
Jarrell did.
I know he did. Well, that's his brand, though. Me, I'm a little more low key and laid back. You know that.
Well, you called it clergy drag. Is that correct?
That's what I called it. I called it clergy drag. And then I decided, well, you know what? This is how I normally would show up, even when I go to board meetings. This is how I, it's this or a T-shirt. So I figured for the first episode, I'll wear my collar.
All right.
Everything after that, I want to be relatable.
Jeff Radcliff, thank you so very much for being
pleasure.
A part of our show again. And we're all out of time, folks. An hour goes by quick. But again, we're here for you. We love you. The reason we do the show is because, again, we want you to get factual information about what is going on in the world, and so that you can add it to your prayer list, so you can also, again, take action, take appropriate action, take appropriate nonviolent action in the world. The world is coming to light. That's the reason why we're experiencing so much chaos right now. So it behooves us to go ahead and to be the light in a world that's seemingly dark. All right. On behalf of all of us here at the New Thought Media Network, I'm Reverend Michael. I'm going to wish you a very pleasant good night, and also have a great week.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Friday's Fireside Chat with Pastor Michael Mangus. Join us again next week at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain for more spiritual conversations for today. For more information and replays of past shows, please visit the New Thought Radio and Media Network's Facebook page. Until next week, may God bless you richly and abundantly.